Out of the plethora of obscure Wii applications out there, many will point to the Demae Channel as particularly odd, likely because the concept was years ahead of its time and exclusive to a game console. Before there was Uber Eats or Grubhub perks with deals that make you want to boogie, there was the Demae Channel, a food delivery service exclusive to Japanese Wiis which launched on May 26, 2009. This service would allow the user to pick from a variety of food options and have it delivered directly to their address via cash purchases. However, as many of us would know, the Demae Channel has long since been shut down in 2017 with no way to officially access it, so nowadays the most use you can get out of it is utilizing a modded Wii with an English patch to order a Domino's pizza. And understandably so, because where are you going to find a gyudon place in Idaho, let alone a store that supports an obsolete Japanese Wii channel that was shut down years ago? It's a miracle that the modded version even supports Domino's in the first place. But I digress. While it is neat that you can order a Domino's pizza with a Wii, it is exceptionally rare to find video recordings of the channel in action through the whole process, including the delivery. And that's just something to be expected, because who in their right mind would go out of their way to buy a capture card just to record themselves ordering off of a Wii application? So a guy who goes by Gatray made a 3-part series of himself ordering food via the Demae Channel, but no. This isn't a Demae Channel showcase. Instead, he did a Let's Play of the Demae Channel in which he was blindfolded and challenged himself to order a meal of his choice. It would end as disastrous as one would expect. So, let me tell you a little story. A story of sauceless pizzas, accidental self-doxing, and financial loss. Our story takes us to 2014 Japan. Nintendo's most recent console at the time was the Wii U, with a library of a whole lot of nothing. So what do you do during that time while you wait for Nintendo's next big release? Well, if you're Gator, you do a blindfolded run of the Demae Channel, of course. So on that fateful February of 2014, Gator boots up his Wii and starts part 1 of his legendary series, playing the Wii's god-tier game, Demae Channel, Blindfolded.
はい、皆さんこんにちは。ガットレイと申します。今回はですね、この Wii のフリーソフト、出前チャンネル。はい、これ皆さん知ってますか？神ゲーですよ。はい、出前チャンネルは神ゲー。なんでかっていうとね、なんと、お家に美味しいご飯が届くっていう非常に画期的な、これはシステムなわけです。しかも、課金ゲーなんですね、これ課金ゲー。お金を払わないとゲームができないというね、システムからしても根本からも斬新すぎる。しかも今回はこれはね、目隠し縛りということでね、非常にこう鬼畜な難易度なんですね。で、
and play on an extremely brutal difficulty he would, as some of the events preceding this intro resulted in one of the most hilarious and unfortunate 3-part YouTube series ever. Gator then enters in his address, which is blocked off by the funny guy on the left, then explains that he's resting his arms on a table and using his wrists for the finer movements. Once reaching the food menu, Gator decides that he wants to order some negitorodon, which is kind of like a minced tuna rice bowl. And the negitorodon is in the top right sushi menu, so he fumbles his way around until he eventually finds it.
この辺が一番上の段だと思う。わかんないけど。で、僕結構このゲームやり込んでるんで、システムとか効果音とかね、理解してます。これが多分弁当とかじゃないかな。で、その横にピザがあるよね。ピザ来るか？来ない。寿司だと思うんで、あれ A ボタン押しても反応しないぞ。右行き過ぎたか？これかな？いった。
After finally finding the sushi section, Gator is then presented with a list of restaurants to choose from. However, unbeknownst to him, he had inadvertently revealed his general location. Because 1, the restaurants that were listed were mostly exclusive to certain parts of Japan, and 2, the names of the towns were directly listed right by the restaurant names, even further narrowing down his location. And just take a look at some of the comments that his audience left once they found out. Even if you hide your address, we can still tell your general location by the store names, you know. Chat, cover your eyes too. Your house is real close, lol. There are way too many locals here. That Ginosara treats their workers very badly. After that whole debacle, Gator ends up going with Ajigen, probably because they serve the negitorodon he's looking for. This takes him to the order menu. Now this is the meat and bones of the whole run, as Gatray wants to keep it within a 1,000 to 2,000 yen budget, and one wrong selection could make this order very expensive. And unfortunately for Gatray, all of the recommended options here are pretty expensive. After giving it some thought, Gatray goes with the option on the far left, which could actually be relatively cheap if he places cards right. And since he chose this sushi tray, it asks him about the number of people he would like to order for. However, Gatray thinks that this is selecting the size of his bowl and is confused as to why there are so many options. Wanting to minimize the costs, he goes with the second option from the top, which isn't the worst decision he could have made. But here's where it all goes downhill. So now Gatray is on the topping and sides menu, but one of the options allows him to modify the amount of people the food is for, and I'll just let you see what happens next.
とりあえず右の方に選択肢が縦に並んでると思うんで、これ並んでますか？縦に並んでる、右の方に。なんでその右のこう X 軸を探さないといけない。こう適当にやっていけば、運良すぎ、びっくりした。これが一番最初の選択肢でいいか？よしよしよしよし。で、わさび、多分わさびだと思うんで、どこだ？真ん中だ。来た。今勝ちって言ったかわかんない。もう一回押すか？これでしょ。オッケー。これでオッケー。なんだ ?2 個あるな。なんだ今なんか2回。まあいいや。
So yeah, he orders 2 people's worth of a sushi tray and then triples that amount. So he's effectively ordering for 6 people. And to add insult to injury, he accidentally adds some sliced mangoes on the side before confirming his order. This ends up bringing his total to about 8,904 yen, or the equivalent of $121 US if you ignore exchange rates. So Gatray confirms his order, and now all he has to do is wait.
その来てくれたお兄さんにインタビューをします。せっかくこう他人がかかってくれる実況だからね、これね、唯一ね。好きなゲームを聞きます。ちょっとお兄さんの好きなゲーム教えてくださいよって言って、で聞きますよ。僕今、その時のオカリナを実況してるんで、ゼルダの伝説シリーズをお兄さんが答えれば、これクリアですよ。にしましょう。もしお兄さんが、ネギトロ丼が来なくて、お兄さんがゼルダの伝説って答えなかった場合は、これパート2です。続いちゃいます。来ましたよ。じゃあ取りますね。すいません。ちょっと手が離せないんですけど、中に持ってきてもらうことってできますか？すいません。ちょっと、鍵開いてるんですいません。お願いしても大丈夫ですか？はい、すいません。ここに置いてもらって、はい。8,904円。はい。8,900いくらですか？ 8,904 円ですね。はい。ちょっとごめんなさい。これで、すいません。ちょっと数えてもらって。多いですか？すいません。実は今、目隠しで出前取ったら何が来るかっていうのやってて、で、これ来ちゃって、っていうのをちょっと取ってるんですけど、それで今ちょっと9000ぐらいなくなったっていうのをちょっとやってました。ありがとうございます。で、ちょっとお兄さんに好きなゲームソフトを聞いて、当たんなかったらこれもう一回やんなきゃいけないっていうのやってるんですよ。僕もうこれ決めてあるんで、何でもいいんですか？自分が思い出のソフト1本、何でもいいです。
戦国無双ですかね。戦国無双です。
戦国無双。
And the final product is...
いやー、何これ？この量はやばいでしょ。なんでマンゴーのあれが3つも来んの？
Given the impossibly low odds that he would have guessed correctly, Gatray then followed up with a part 2 on May 2nd, 2014. So this time, Gatray goes with pizza because there was way too many options from last time that were expensive. Unfortunately, as we'll soon see, not much will change price-wise, because when he chooses from the list of pizza restaurants, he ends up choosing one of the most expensive options, that being pizza lot. So just to put into perspective how expensive it's going to get for him, I'm going to give you the approximate amount that it would cost in USD today and ignore conversion rates. If he were to go with Pizza Hut, the minimum would be $19 to get it delivered. Or with the cheapest option, Domino's, the minimum would be $14 for delivery. But with the option he chose, he would have to pay a minimum of $24 to get it delivered. Needless to say, the run is off to a horrendous start. But regardless of what the price may be, Gatray finds himself at the menu. After contemplating on whether or not to go with the leftmost or rightmost option, he ultimately goes with the bagnacotta pizza on the right-hand side. Alright, here we go again. Gatray is presented with two options here, and even though he is armed with the knowledge of last time, he still picks the second option, which he does explain why in the video, but unfortunately with my Sokitan Ducky-Doo ass Japanese, unfortunately I just could not interpret it. So, I asked my girlfriend for some help.
多分、ボタンが2つあって、で、どっちにしようか迷ったんだけど、一番上って、一番下のやつって多分一番おすすめだから、そのなんか2つあるうちのメジャーな方を選んだら、なんかもしかしたらなんかまたやばくなるかもしれない。悪い方向、悪い。
方向に来る。なんか、多分、一番上の選択肢が、なんか一番高いオプションと思い込んだってこと
そう、多分ね。なんか何でもメジャーにやりすぎたら、なんか逆に失敗するかもしれないから、まあここはわざと 2番目。
2番目を選ぶ、ね。
を選ぼうな感じだと思う。
なるほどね。And once again, we find ourselves on the toppings menu. Gatray now knows the top option is dangerous because it could potentially increase the portion size, even though this time it would be way better to decrease the size, but he's not taking any risks. So this time, he opts for the bottom option, which is the option to remove toppings. And unfortunately for Gatray, he thinks that this is the menu to add toppings. So he gets no cheese, no parmesan, no onions, no mushrooms, no bacon, no tomatoes, no sauce, no zucchini, no black pepper, no bacon bits, no oregano, and no olive oil. So this effectively just leaves him with bread, bagnacotta sauce, and bell peppers. But Gatray hasn't explored all the menus yet, so he works his way up and finds all the add topping menus. Then picks an option without really thinking, which happens to be cheese, and needlessly adds $5 to the total. The poor delivery driver is probably going to be so confused, because the instructions say to remove the cheese, but simultaneously add it back? Logistical nightmare aside, all that's left to do is choose the dough, and hand tossed happens to be the first option, so that's what he rolls with. Finally, Gatray inches his way towards the order confirmation button and ends up placing the order for around $58. Now all we do is wait. And try to guess the delivery person's favorite game.
Later.
すいません。ちょっと申し訳ないんですけど、ちょっと手が離せないんで、中に持ってきていただくことってできますか？鍵開いてます。すいません。よろしくお願いします。すいません。大丈夫ですよ。4378円。はい。お兄さんに好きなゲームを聞いて、当たんなかったらこれもう一回目隠して出前取らなきゃいけないっていうのをやってるんですけど、好きな思い出のゲームを一本だけちょっと答えていただくことってできますか？
ゲームは
何でもいいです。何でも。ここでちょっとお願いして。いや、先生のし。ダメですか？すいません。
And the final product was...
これは、なんだこれ。これは、ピザですね。なんかトッピングが実はさっき電話がかかってきて、お客様のご注文されたトッピングですとこちらの方がお得になりますよってなんか別のピザ紹介されたんですね。大丈夫です。そのまんまの注文に忠実に作っていただければと思いますっていう旨をお伝えしたんですね。そしたら今これ何も乗ってなくね？ピーマンは乗ってるよ。ピーマンピザ。
And with the conclusion of part 2, This brings us to the final episode in the Demae Channel trilogy. Those eagerly anticipating the next installment in the series would have to wait almost 3 years, but nonetheless, Part 3 dropped in March of 2017, just 1 day before the service shut down on the 31st. In the final installment, Gatray does something a little different in the beginning. Instead of deciding what type of food he'd like to order first, he selects the roulette wheel to randomly choose for him. So for the finale, he'll be having...
はい、大丈夫か、仕出しパーシーあたりでA ボタン押したが和食
Gatray promptly blindfolds himself and begins the run. After scrolling through the restaurants, he decides to go with the option at the top, as it has the shortest wait time. But before he can do so, he gets lost on the left side of the screen and accidentally hits the return button. And just take a look at how he finds his way back.
なんかニュートラルなビジムに戻った？戻るボタン押したか？戻るボタン押したか？やばいぞやばいぞ！意味ないじゃんこれ。1、2、3。これが寿司でしょ。寿司は前頼んだから、寿司の下1個下、寿司の1個下がなんかわかんない。その列の一番下が仕出しパーティーみたいなやつだから、これなら安全。
That's right, he doesn't. He somehow picks the sushi option again, and he even calls it the HD remaster in the subtitles. So, this is how it all goes. We end off where we started. Hold up, his writing is fire. Now, one would expect him to realize that it's playing the sushi music in the background and retry, but for whatever reason, he's convinced that it's just reusing the sushi music, and he continues, regardless of this conundrum. Knowing that the wait time increases as he goes down the menu, he opts for the restaurant on the top of the list, which is... Ajigin? Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Absolute cinema. Peak, even. Since Gatore is convinced that he's in the bento menu, he decides that he's going to try to order some katsudon. After contemplating which option to choose for a bit, he decides he's going to choose the one right in the middle. Although what he chose is not quite katsudon, it's still kaisendon, which is like a seafood rice bowl, so it checks out. This now brings us to the fabled portion size and sides menu. Gatore feels his way around until he finds the top option, which is, once again, portion sizes. Although this time around, Gatore has wised up to the traps he's fallen into and moves on without increasing anything. Is what I would say if he didn't accidentally pick the top option again. So he ends up doubling his order again because he believes that he's increasing the bowl size and not the amount of people that it's for. Gatore then moves on to the wasabi menu, as he cannot move on without confirming whether to add it or not, which he ultimately does not add to the order. Then he gets to the option he was actually looking for, to make his rice bowl large, which he actually succeeds in doing. Now all he has to do is select what type of container he wants and continue. But as we've all come to expect at this point, it doesn't come that easy. Now, Gatore believes he's already made a selection for the bottom portion, so unfortunately this leads to him accidentally adding fried chicken from the top part of the screen. Luckily, Gatore soon realizes that he can't progress without choosing something else, which, in this case, is the container menu on the bottom right. After stumbling around for a little bit, he eventually finds it and picks the takeout container option. And finally, all Gatore has to do is wait. Not without accidentally returning to the main food menu, getting lost, adding a 3-piece nigiri sushi and a cup of frozen mango to the order, and stumbling his way back into the order menu. And after all that trouble, the total would come out to be $93. And so, all that's left to do now is to wait.
BGM が変わるはず。変わるはず。うん、そう。変わる。せーの。はい。なんだ？何？なんかメニューが開いた。メニューが開いちゃったから、左下。
Yeah. So you remember how I said he was playing the day before the shutdown? Well, unfortunately, as it turned out, sometime during the ordering process, the service shut down. All the while, Gatore, for the life of him, could not figure out why he couldn't order. So, reluctantly, he removes his blindfold.
無理そうなんでアイマスク外します。 おいおいおい、超いいとこまで来てんじゃん。超いいとこまで来てるよ、これ。海鮮だ。寿司じゃねえかよ。寿司じゃねえかよ、これ。お前いつまでいいんだよ、お前は。
And in 2017, Gatray ended it just like that. Rather unceremoniously, right? So, 4 years later, when he re-uploaded it to YouTube, let's just say he tied up some loose ends.
ちょっと皆さんの思ってたオチとは違ったかもしれませんが、これで終わるのもなんだと思ったんで、一応4年経ったんですけど、一応注文しました。はい。こんな感じでしたね。ちょっとメニューとかもやっぱり4年も経てばいろいろ変化があったみたいで、別のメニューでちょっと代用してるんですけど、注文しました。
And for the most part, it was all there. Mango and all. When I first discovered these videos, the first thing that stood out to me was how much of a time capsule these videos are, as you could really only have made something like that in that era, and something only Nintendo could have made possible. Unless Nintendo comes out with a revival or a similar service for the Switch 2, unfortunately, we'll never see something like this again. The sound cues and tactile nature of the menus are seldom seen, if at all, in today's age, and the shutdown of the Demae Channel would render future Blindfolded attempts impossible. But you want to know something crazy? This fact didn't stop Gatray at all. In fact, there are 2 spiritual successors to the Demae Channel saga, and the company that partnered with Nintendo for the Demae Channel is actually still active today in the form of a food delivery service app called Demae. Although the service is still active today, Gatray would understandably have to tweak the rules a little bit going forward. Since he's navigating the menu on a computer and he can't really rely on sound or feel to navigate, he blurred his screen so that everything was beyond recognition. And that is where our story ends, my friends. If you enjoy what you saw and happen to understand Japanese, check out Gatoray's original series. I'll be leaving a link in the description below. That being said, I enjoy talking about the Japanese side of the internet and Japan in general, so if you would like to see me cover more things about Japan, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Also, this video put my Japanese skills to work, so if you are fluent in Japanese and felt like I translated something wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments below. That's all for now. Bye bye.